Hi everybody, welcome to the section 4 of our course. This section is Watson for Understanding Text. So in this section we will look at the different capabilities that Watson provides us for interpreting and extracting features from text and doing some analytics of unstructured data. So in the first video we will look at the Natural Language Understanding API. This API provides us with capabilities for interpreting text and extracting features, extracting metadata about the text we are analyzing. Then we will look at the enrichments in Discovery Service. As you remember from our previous chapter, Discovery Service is one of the most powerful Watson services, and we will look at the way we can enhance information search using the metadata that natural language understanding gives us. And finally, we will look at the capabilities for finding insight from unstructured data. So we will do a sample exercise for analyzing open text data using the capabilities of natural language understanding and the enrichment in Discovery Service. So we will do a complete exercise. Natural language understanding. The natural language understanding, previously known also as Alchemy API, so maybe you can find some documentation regarding Alchemy API, basically extracts metadata from our input text. So what is metadata? Metadata is specific information we can extract from a piece of data. In the case of language understanding, we can extract different features as keywords, entities, concept, sentiment, relation, taxonomy, and so on. So for example, if we are looking at keywords, it will look for the main words that are mentioned in our text, and we will look at the relevance of each one and return us with the keywords. So it's the kind of tagging you can do in the text that you can find in internet or something like that. In entities, you will retrieve the main nouns that are mentioned in the analysis text, and in the concept, for example, we will look at the abstract entities that are not explicitly mentioned in the text. So we can do a more powerful classification and interpretation of text. We can also look at the sentiment. This is very useful for processing social media data as Twitters or maybe as Facebook posts or something like this. So you, for example, will find some examples, some demos using Airbnb reviews for finding which reviews are positive and which reviews are negative. And finally, we have some more advanced extraction like the relationship that, for example, find relationship between entities in a text, one company buying another company. So for example, you can query a set of news, some extracted news from papers, and look at the places where there are mentioning some buying. So if you are doing some kind of due diligence or something like that, you can process a lot of information from this source and look for all the places where there are mentioned that there is a buying relationship for a company, for example, like IBM. And finally, the semantic rules and taxonomy that extracts metadata using linguistic techniques for classifying a text into a set of hierarchies or a set of taxonomy. So for example, in this sentence, Watson APIs are wonderful for structured text processing and so on, we have this kind of metadata. So for example, we will look that the sentiment is positive because I am saying that I am very excited about all the possibilities that we can do with the Watson APIs. But it will find that you have these two keywords on structured text processing and Watson APIs. But it also found that you are talking about computer data. Even though computer data is not explicitly mentioned in the input text, it can find that this text is referring to this abstract concept. So this is very useful for processing text, classifying it, and maybe doing some advanced analytics. And finally, we find that I'm transmitting a joy emotion in the way I am writing this text. So let's look at the semantic roles. Semantic roles is one of the special metadata that you can extract with natural language understanding. So semantic roles extract subject, action, and object from the different sentences of a text. So if you remember something from your linguistic class or your grammar class, you remember that all the sentences are composed of these three parts. In this sample, we can find that the subject is Watson API, so it's then known that is doing an action. And in this case, the action or the verb is are. We will look at the infinitive form. And the object that this action acting on is wonderful form on unstructured text processing. So in this way, you can process in news, you can process open text, you can process medical records, something like that, for extracting all the important information that you will be using for enriching your business intelligence solutions, your business analytics solutions, and in general for understanding any kind of data that you want to process. So let's explore this sample text that we were looking at. So if you remember from our previous videos, we had some demo page where you can enter the sentence, the text you want to analyze, and it will find you the different metadata that you can use. So here is the text that I was using in my PowerPoint slides, and this is the metadata that it extracted. So it will say, okay, the sentiment is positive with a high score. And the emotion I am writing is of joy. These are the keywords that it detected on a structured text processing, Watson API, insight extraction, and so on. These keywords you can use for doing some aggregate queries or something like this. The entity that it found was Watson, and it says that this text is categorized as technology and computing or the main category. It will find another two candidates with a lower score, but it found that indeed these texts were referring to technology and computing. The concept behind this text is computer data, and this is the semantic roles part. So this is one sample, but if you look at the JSON part, you will see that we have the subject, the complete sentence that we are looking at, and the action with the verb in infinitive in the tense present, but also the normalized version of are. It also processed the second sentence that was included in the text. I am very excited about all the possibilities, saying that the action is be and I am. So you can test this demo with your own data in order to understand the different kind of metadata that you can extract. We will be using this metadata for doing enrichment in the Watson Discovery service.